Hey, this is the antisocial socialite back at it again. Shout out to all the wonderful new subscribers and returning friends. Welcome. If you are new to the channel, you have not yet subscribed. What are you waiting for, darling? Hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell. So when I get to running this mouth, baby, you are in the loop. You see the title, you know what time it is. Don't ask me what the title is. I think it's reviewing this interaction between this viral video lady, Jay Monroe, and security boss. First, I got to give props to security boss for getting this lady on the show. That was, kudos to her for having the initiative to actually reach out to this lady. I hope other people speak to her. I hope that the interaction didn't scare her off and that she actually will kind of tour the manosphere and give her take on the story, like how a lot of people reacted and responded to the video. It would be nice if she could actually speak to more people because, I think that what she had to say was very interesting. So last night, Security Boss went live and she interviewed this lady. And I was kind of in two minds because I was doing the whole, Cuba Gooding Jr. punching the air type of thing. And I was kind of rattled by the conversation. Um, I personally wouldn't have gone down the line of questioning that security boss went down. But I mean, everybody does their thing differently. And her perspective as a like an older woman, long term married and things like that, her perspective is one way and my perspective was another. So for those who have been living under a rock for some time, a lady by the name of Jay Monroe, she went on TikTok, I'm assuming, and she uploaded a video about being in her mid 30s, I believe it is. She has like, I believe it's one child, but I think it's one child. And basically, she's like, I'm a middle-aged woman and Kevin Samuels was right. Like, um, I don't know how to be in a loving partnership or a relationship with a man. Um, I don't know how to live in a peaceful manner. And basically, she started crying. She said, "I'm not really crying because I'm upset. I'm crying because I recognize I don't know how to fix me." Now, prior to this interview with Security Boss, I wanted to touch on this video because the video I kind of can relate to. Now, Jay said that she started dancing at the age of 18. I've never done that or anything like that. But just the way she was talking from the sense of like the emptiness that she felt and the way she felt a bit lost in life, um, I kind of resonated with the way that she felt because Jay and I are close in age. And when I heard her talking on Security Boss last night, it was quite not astounding, but the pieces that I kind of suspected, they all came together like a puzzle or a detective. I was just playing LA Noir, so I'm still thinking about the detective looking for clues mode, but all the clues fitted together to what I kind of suspected the situation was. And although there were different aspects about Jay's life that I haven't personally experienced, there were a lot of things about her childhood that I could relate to, and I could understand why she had this feeling of emptiness. I was originally going to touch on it, but I'm lazy. I'm a terrible content creator. I'm really sorry to all of you loyal subscribers who come through, you support, you keep your subscription with the channel, and I don't give you consistent content. I throw myself on your mercy. I see Bronzebird in the building. Shout out to you. Shout out to Soup Bone. Thank you guys for coming through. But I don't always want to just talk about the same kind of topics, and I don't always want to just. I don't want to say I don't want to jump on a bandwagon, but I don't always want to just cover the same topics that are trending, even though that's good for the channel and people maybe want to hear what you want to say. But I want to be enthusiastic too about what I talk about. Even if it's only mediocre content, I want to be enthusiastic about the mediocrity. I'm joking. Kind of. So I wasn't going to do a response to Security Boss because I personally typically don't um, like to challenge other content creators who I feel overall do more good than harm. Okay. But I want to really touch on what Jay said. Suitbone asked, who said Kevin Samuels was right? The lady who actually did the viral video who said that she was in her mid 30s, she's a single mom, and dating is hard, and she wants love, and she can't find love, and Kevin Samuels was right about the things that he said. Okay, he was saying, which is a shame. I mean, I know a lot of people supported Kevin Samuels. We know that he had thousands of viewers per show. So we know a lot of people liked him. But, we needed the women to come out in numbers when he was alive to back him up. Maybe taking some of that pressure off would have helped. But that's another conversation for another day. So I'm going to, apart from choke, because this is why you shouldn't talk while you eat. I'm going to hopefully share the screen if I can get the right window. And we're going to just have a quick look because I wanted to talk about how this lady came across to me prior to this interview. But now Jay has come online and actually expanded on what she had to say. Like, shout out to Security Boss again. She went over to the TikTok. She was kind of looking through the videos to get a better feel of who she was dealing with. It is what it is. I still personally don't agree with the way that the conversation went, just because there's different things that I would have focused on, which I'm going to talk about kind of here briefly, because I'm trying not to belabor the point too much. I hope everybody can hear. Let me see if I can do this now. Okay, so you guys let me know if you can hear it. So this is fair use. I wasn't gonna do this video, like I said, partly because I'm lazy. But then this morning, Security Boss clipped the bit that kind of made me think twice. The bit that made me want to do the video was the bit that she clipped, actually. So it was like, go on, do it. So in the end, I said, you know what? Let me just, seeing as she's condensed it down into a 4-minute clip. I think it's a 4-minute clip. 4 minutes 11. Let's just do it, shall we? So fair use. I hope Security Boss doesn't.
A woman who has a mother, who is a wife, who you said lives a totally separate life from the one that you chose to live. How do you find yourself on OnlyFans?
Going back, like I said, like I watched my mother be a single mother for a long time. So, and the reason why I mentioned that my mom was married, because I think a lot of times when we see women that grow up to be these broken women or modern women, as people call them, they think that somehow like you have daddy issues or things like that. Now, I did grow up in a tumultuous household. I started running away at 14. And also what I talked about in that video is that learning at 14 that men taught me that I could use my body to survive. So again, not blaming men. I'm not going to play a victim because, being that age and lying and things like that, like I feel like I can't be a victim when I was acting in a victim, being a victimizer. But from that age, by that time, I had just experienced sexual abuse. My first interaction with a man was molestation. And so by that time at 14, I didn't want to be home. There was a lot of things going on between me and my mom, just a lot of fighting. And then having a parent with a mental illness, like I didn't want to be there. So it was easier for me to run away. And by that time, from about 14 to about 18, I'm, kind of in and out and juvenile and things like that. By 18, I'm a dancer. I don't have a kid, so I don't have anybody to be responsible to. I don't owe it to a man to be this woman that could be a future wife because I don't have kids and I'm 18, like, you know, and I'm doing what I know best. I'm using my body and my looks to survive out here. And then by 25, I have my son, and then to get to OnlyFans, my son was not with me at the time when I chose to do that. He was living with his dad, but you know, I saw everybody else doing it, and I'm like, you know, once you are an entertainer, it's not hard to get back into the entertainment world. That wasn't like, you know, sexual acts and stuff like that on OnlyFans. And if y'all go look for it, you're not gonna find it because OnlyFans is deleted. You know, but yeah, it was another way to like, okay, like we're in a pandemic and I need money, and yeah, so that's how you end up on OnlyFans.
So, Jay, you know what you're saying? You call yourself 304.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I mean, what do y'all want me to say? Like, y'all, you know, let me address this right now. Like, whether people like what I'm saying or not, I really don't give a damn because it's my truth. And it's a lot of other women that's out here that are living that same truth. And people can sit on their high horse and they can judge how they want to. But there's a lot of women that are having a breakthrough by the video that I had. And, you know, let them without saying cast the first stone.
Well, let me say this. I actually love the video you did. I was in your corner. This is what women want. This woman is apologizing. She's basically accounting for what she's done, the life she's led, and she's turning, you know, changing her mindset. She's wanting to be a different woman. Now she wants to be a married woman. Now she's looking for love. But I'm gonna tell you something. I got to be totally honest with you because we're telling the truth. I was all in your corner, but then I kept looking at TikTok on a different day, and I heard young Miami say, "I don't cook. I mean, I know how to cook. I know how to clean. I know how to F, and I know how to seduce." And that threw me way off because I felt like you were sincere. But now I feel like, is this a part of a rap song I don't know about?
Yeah, it's not a part of a rap song. Like there are a lot of young girls learning to survive with their bodies. And as much as men want to tell women like we're wrong and things like that, like who y'all think we learning that from? Who told you that you could use your body to get what you want?
Whew, right. Let me just mute this mic quickly while I go punch the air for 5 seconds. Yo. Okay, and we're back in the room. Shout out to Robbie Privilege in the house. I wanted to make you a mod, but I'm struggling because my phone is acting up. Let me see if I can find the video online. It's supposed to notify me, but I don't even get notifications about anything. Oh, wait, here we go. Here's my video. I don't even get notifications. So, whew, god damn, that video, that bit right there. I'm so triggered. It's ridiculous. Why don't you allow me to click on the thingy? Oh, girl, I wanted to do something, but it's not allowing me. The computer's giving me grief. So. Girl, take a deep breath. Let's just go back through the video and we'll go through it bit by bit because it was a lot.
Okay. Life in the one that you chose to live. How do you find yourself on OnlyFans?
Going back, like I said, like I watched my.
Now, when she asked this question, I didn't want to go in, but I've got 40 minutes, and you know I can talk long. I'm long meter, so let's just go for it, right? The first question she asked is, "How did you find yourself on OnlyFans?" Now, you know this is gonna sound raw, boy, but I would rather give it away than sell it, right? It takes a lot to go to the point where you're like, bro, I am so desperate that I am going to dance or prostitute or OnlyFans or whatever. It takes, boy, I don't know if it's courage or foolishness or what, but it takes guts. In my opinion, it takes a certain mindset to say, you know what, I'm gonna use my body like this to make money. And so when you ask a question like, how did you end up on OnlyFans? Sometimes certain questions just don't need to be asked, bro. And when she answered the question and she said, well, it started off, da 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 da, and this is why I stopped I would have stopped the conversation at this point. This conversation does not progress past this point. When she opened her mouth and said what she said next in response to that question, the conversation, in my opinion, does not need to go any further. It doesn't need to take one step further because I've said this before and I'll say it again. When people go through, all right, let me say it like this. First things first, post-traumatic stress is not something that only people coming back from the war have, okay? You can go through post-traumatic stress through any situation that causes you to be traumatized. It could be being embarrassed in public. It could be your parents divorcing or a bereavement, or it could be some type of assault. So when she came out and said that she was molested, it like it's like the scales are supposed to fall from your eyes. It's supposed to be very obvious when a person says, I experienced childhood sexual abuse, and I haven't got the strength to try to pretty it up. So we're just going to use the grown people terms. It should be obvious how this person got like this. Like, the question doesn't need to be asked. Really, once we get past that point, we don't need to ask any more questions. I'm not saying like, oh, we just throw you in a bin and we know exactly who you are and what you are or anything like that. We're not demonizing the victim. But once a person says, I was molested as a child, do you really think the person is just going to go skipping down the road like Jiminy Cricket, like everything is hunky dory? This is like a deep psychological wound. This person has been damaged. And it's like, I'm in the comment section and I'm just like, how people asking questions like, what do you think a man is? Okay, let me just cut straight to the chase because I'm getting ahead of myself. But what do you think a man is? Bro, the chick thinks a man is an abuser, bro. What are you asking this question for? Like, when the person was vulnerable, young, and a dependent, there was an adult that she should be able to trust taking advantage. What do you think she's going to think a man is? Like, oh, so why is your sexual interaction transactional? Well, because somebody took advantage. Oh my God, like, where's the whiteboard? Do you need a diagram? Should I sign language it for you? Like, oh my God, I'm so triggered because I just don't understand. I just don't understand. Maybe I don't understand. Like, help me. You know, I don't have social skills. So obviously I don't understand. But it's just like, I froze. I like, literally, when I listened back to this conversation, you can hear how flabbergasted I am. Like, did you just completely, anyway, bro, we heard it, but let's go back again. Shout out to Mr. O in the building. Super says there's a song with the lyrics that says, use what you got to get what you want. Something like that. Can't remember the name of the song. That could be any song. There's so many out there like that. So she responds.
Be a single mother for a long time. So, and the reason why I mentioned that my mom was married, because I think a lot of times when we see women that grow up to be these broken women or modern women, as people call them, you know, they think that somehow like you have daddy issues or things like that. Now, I did grow up in a tumultuous household. I started running away at 14. And also what I talked about in that video is that learning at 14, that men taught me that I could use my body to survive. So again, not blaming men. I'm not going to play a victim because, you know, being that age and lying and things like that, like I feel like I can't be a victim when I was at it.
Okay, so the first question I have is, she said that she was lying at 14. So what were you doing? Were you lying about your age? Or were you lying about other stuff and you felt like you brought like the molestation on yourself? Or was the molestation at a younger age and that kind of sent her into a downward spiral? I would have liked the clarification because I was in and out. I had to go out of the room to cuss and punch the air. And then I was still at work. So I had to go back to doing what I actually get paid to do. And then I came back and I listened some more, paused it, cussed the air a little bit more, went back to work, went home. So I missed a big chunk of the video. I didn't even have the strength to go back and watch it. After I saw this bit, I literally was like, I need to listen to some music and just detach from YouTube, maybe for a good hour or so until I calmed down. So I really was just, oh my God, I'm so lost for words right now. So Jay is clearly in denial. Okay, that's the first thing we want to acknowledge here. Jay is taking responsibility for what a grown adult person did. And, you know, with all due respect, you know, we know Black people age quite well if we take care of ourselves. We look youthful even when we're middle aged, right? So imagine how young she looked at 14, whether she had a body, whether she had a weave, whether she was big. Like, you could look at her and see she was a kid, because at 14 she's going to look young. It's obvious. No wrinkles, probably complexion is quite clear. She's maybe a little bit goofy. And like, whoever this person was is supposed to have an idea this person can't be more than maybe 16. So maybe she lied about her age, but even still, she said her first sexual interactions were abusive. All right. That whole part of the conversation just got completely glossed over. And that is actually the crux of this story. And what we need to understand is this: we know most people are abused or assaulted or murdered by people. Well, maybe murder is less now, it's going down, I think, but it's still typically people know. You know your attacker, right? Why? Because people who are going to strike, they're predatory. They need to know how to get in and get out without being caught. They're going to study your movements. So obviously, people who attack the vulnerable, they watch. They know the person's movements when, like, the people who could pull them up are not going to be around, and how to manipulate the person. That's why you're going to find abusers are typically people who are friendship or family circle, right? So abuse often doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's already an environment of neglect in place. People who have, maybe single parents in the home. Obviously, one parent can only be one place at any one time. And if that, the parent needs a babysitter, these kind of people volunteer so they can get access to the children. Obviously, the child thinks, if my parent trusts me with this person, but this person is doing something I don't like, is the problem the person or is the problem me? So, the child doesn't know what to do. They understand the parent needs to go to do other things to keep the house running, and they don't want to rock the boat, but then they're being victimized on the other end. Sometimes there are two parents in the home, but they're just struggling. They're just busy, or maybe, as Jay said, in this situation, well, she grew up, her parents were married when they were born, but somehow the relationship broke down, it seems, quite early on. So for a period of time, Jay was with just a single mother. And it's quite possible that the person that the mother brought into the house is the person who ended up abusing, this girl who now becomes this lady. So there's an environment of neglect where the child may feel pushed to the side. They may feel like they don't have any value or worth. Maybe the parent is abusive. And Jay goes on to say her mother had a mental health problem. Okay. And we've talked about this so many times before, um, the concept of adverse childhood experiences. And as you can see from the little circles on the left hand side, I got to do my fingers because I never can tell the left from the right. I don't know why I struggle. It's like I write with my right and I make the L with the sorry. I gotta lighten this thing up, boy. This thing is too much for me, bro. And it's like abuse. What kind of abuse? There's going to be mental abuse. There's going to be some type or psychological abuse. There's going to maybe be some type of verbal abuse. And there's obviously, in this situation, there's sexual abuse. Now there's also household challenges. The mother's got a mental health condition. So that's like, all right, let's just call that three adverse childhood experiences. Then on top of it, if the person's got mental health problems, the person you're depending on has mental health problems. The chances of them being able to adequately care for a household is obviously is diminished. I'm not going to say it's low because we don't know how significant the mental health issues were. But maybe again, this is why the so-called abuser was brought into the situation, because the person couldn't cope. And they saw two vulnerable people, a vulnerable mother who has mental health problems, and then on top of it, a child who is dependent and doesn't have anybody to turn to, because the one person they're supposed to be able to turn to is mentally not capable of helping them. So when I watch this live stream, and it's just because I've done conversations about things like this before. I've been through certain things like this myself. So it sparks something in me that makes me frustrated, because I understand security boss is not trying to be harsh or mean, but like the key point of this conversation got completely lost in the sauce. And I kept asking, like, what have you done? And Jay was like, I have been to a therapist. And I'm like, you got to keep going to therapy. You've got to work it through. And on top of it, you may need to change the therapist. And it's not in this clip, but at one point, Jay said that she was depressed. And this is a common side effect of childhood sexual abuse. People develop, I can't even remember the name, but it's basically a low level form of depression, where it's not the crippling kind where you can't get out of bed and you're just completely despondent, but you have no joy in life. You completely feel like even the most simple tasks are overwhelming. You can function, but there's always like this niggling feeling in the background of your mind, like any minute now something bad is going to happen. And this is probably part of the post traumatic stress as well. Like if you are especially if the abuse is ongoing, we're not talking about, I mean, a one-off incident is bad enough, but if the perpetrator is a consistent fixture in your life, you're always on edge, in a state of stress, because you don't know when that person's going to strike again. And it's like there's the stress of keeping the secret, there's the mixed emotions. And I was going to do a whole live stream on the impact of over sexualizing children, because there is a real issue, especially in 2022 or in the 21st century, where we have so much sexual content flooding the market. It's in our music, it's on TV. Like, once upon a time you wouldn't hear certain swearing or see kissing or what have you before a certain time. And I'm watching shows that used to come on at night in the middle of the day as a repeat, and I'm just like, there are kids at home who see this is kind of an adult theme, which is completely inappropriate for young people to be watching, because you're opening them up to a concept and a set of experiences and emotions that they are psychologically not ready to deal with. And this is why, in my opinion, I'm an armchair psychiatrist or psychologist. I'm not, clinically trained, but from what I can see of Jay, we know that when people go through childhood trauma, a part of their personality gets stunted in that age. So if she was assaulted at 14, part of her psyche is always 14, and that needs to be addressed, which is why she has like probably an identity crisis. She grew up in a single mother household. Okay, it wasn't always a single mother household, but during the formative years, she was in, according to her, a tumultuous environment. She didn't get the validation of a strong father figure. She didn't get the protection and the love and care of a strong father figure. There's a good chance if her mother was on her own, they grew up in poverty. She was in juvenile hall. God knows what happened while she was in and out of juvie. And then on top of it, there was abuse. And then she didn't have anybody that she could turn to. There is life after abuse. But if there is no support system, then the trauma continues. And obviously, people who are victimized as children often go on to be re-victimized as adults, partly because if you've never been taught how to value yourself, to respect yourself, to protect yourself, then you go out into the world with that mentality. Well, I can do what well, not I can do what I want, but you don't know how to maneuver through life in a way where you protect yourself, because you've never had protection demonstrated to you. So that was a long ass breath. Shout out to Simon in the building. He's looking, his eyes are wide open. He's like, God damn. I found it. The song is by Lynn Collins. Think about it. A few rap songs actually used it. I might look it up. Shout out to Darren Long in the building. He said, Raw B got me here. Okay, so the reason why I bring this up again, because we haven't talked about ACEs for a while, but this is a classic case of how adverse childhood experiences can completely derail a person's entire life. Okay. And the more adverse childhood experiences you have, the more likely you are to go on later on in life to develop unhealthy coping mechanisms. You're more likely to do self sabotaging behaviors. You're more likely to engage in drug use, legal or illegal. You're more likely to commit crime and engage in unhealthy lifestyle choices. And ultimately, it can cut your life short by sometimes decades. Okay. So it really, shout out to Zeke. Thank you so much for being in the house. They said this is a good topic. And it frustrates me because right there, once she said childhood abuse, I would have stopped the conversation. Like the pin is here and the pin doesn't move past this point. Because until you get that mental state fixed, until you get that those skeletons out of the closet and you have you exchange those unhealthy coping mechanisms with healthy ones, you are going to keep repeating that cycle. Now, why did I get frustrated? I've already covered a lot. We've literally gone 1 minute, I bet, through the video.
Being a victimizer. But from that age, by that time, I had just experienced sexual abuse. My first interaction with a man was molestation. And so by that time at 14, I didn't want to be home. There was a lot of things going on between me and my mom, just a lot of fighting. And then having a parent with a mental illness, like I didn't want to be there. So it was easier for me to run away. And by that time,
now we don't know how true that is because everyone's perspective, and I'm not like saying she's lying, but obviously we only have her word to go on. So what she perceived as a child, we all perceive our parents a certain way when we're kids, but when we become adults and we become responsible for our own lives, then we realize, okay, some of the things they said, it wasn't really to harm me, it was actually to help me. So the teenage arguing, we don't know how much that was due to the mental illness. We don't know how much it was due to the mother was maybe not the best parent. You know, maybe Jay was a problematic teen. It could be the fact that there's no father in the home to bring order and discipline. You know, like I said, we don't know. She said her first sexual experience was molestation. She didn't say at what age. So we don't know if when she started acting out, it was more like a cry for help and it just kind of escalated at the age of 14. That's the only age she mentioned. So I don't really know. I can't remember. But you know, the fact that there was a traumatic and a turbulent household, that is what has led to this point where this lady, in my opinion, she has a bit of an identity crisis. She doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know where she's going. She ran away from home, which means she didn't have the support and the guidance of a loving family. And then on top of it, like, you know,
from about 14 to about 18, I'm, kind of in and out and juvenile and things like that. By 18, I'm a dancer. I don't have a kid, so I don't have anybody to be responsible to. I don't owe it to a man to be this woman that could be a future wife because I don't have kids and I'm 18, like, and I'm.
Okay, so that was a bit, she kind of, I wouldn't say she lost me there, but, this whole thing about I don't have a kid, so I don't have to be like a wife. I don't see the correlation. I understand that, like, maybe having a child is going to force you to grow up, but you can't really get blood from a stone. You can't get something out of somebody that they don't have in them. So you're a wife before you have a husband. Okay, you move like a wife before you have a husband, and then you become somebody's wife. So having a child has nothing to do with anything. I understand what she's saying in terms of I don't need to be responsible as a person. Like, I don't need to be conscious of what time I come home, or if I drink, or if I smoke, or if I do this or whatever, where I sleep tonight, because I don't have a dependent at home, or I don't have a husband waiting. I understand that aspect, but at the same time, it's like it speaks to the mentality that she had, where it's like, I don't need to bother to grow up because I don't have anyone to grow up for. And again, it's like, had she had that guidance during childhood, She would have got her childhood mentality out of her system, and she would have gone on to the next phase of her life like a maturing person. But as I said, probably because of the trauma that she went through during childhood, part of her development was stunted. So she's obviously aging. Time has gone on. She is physically getting older, but in some respects she's not getting more mature. And if she ran away, she doesn't have to be accountable to anybody. So she can be as free as she wants, which you think, oh, is a great thing, but without somebody kind of forcing you out of the nest in terms of your mentality, forcing you to grow up, forcing you to be responsible, holding you accountable, she will continue to operate a little bit like that 14-year-old or that 18-year-old that kept running away. So in that bit right there, I just, I was a bit.
I'm doing what I know best. I'm using my body and my looks to survive out here. And then by 25, I have my son. And then to get to OnlyFans, my son's not with me at the time when I chose to do that. He was living with his dad.
Now, between 18 and 25 is 7 years. A lot can happen in 7 years. And if you notice, like these painful bits of the story, she very quickly glosses. Oh, like she just wants to. Oh yeah, by the way, there was this and there was that, and then I was 25, and it's like, I understand that it's painful to talk about, but that's the bit that actually is like a festering sore. You need to kind of get the scalpel and clean that sore out, clean it, sanitize it, stitch it up, and let it heal. And as the more you gloss over it, the more it's gonna fester. And now it's kind of exploded at the age of 36 on TikTok, where she's crying because she realized, like, I don't know who I am, I don't know where I'm going. And also, okay, she had a child at 25, which technically is adult. By then, your brain is pretty much fully formed, and all the aspects of the brain are pretty much developed, blah blah blah. But because she never knew who she was, it's like she still is stuck, and now she can't focus on herself because she's got somebody else who's reliant upon her. So 25 is not particularly young, but because of her mental state and probably a lack of support, it was maybe more stressful for her than maybe the average 25 would find it.
But I saw everybody else doing it, and I'm like, once you are an entertainer, it's not hard to get back into the entertainment world. That wasn't like sexual acts and stuff like that.
And I was thinking that OnlyFans, like, why are you talking about OnlyFans? Has OnlyFans been out that long? And I don't think it has. Maybe OnlyFans is what, about 5 years? How old is OnlyFans? It can't be 10 years old, unless, cause I don't know, but. But then I realized they're talking about the pandemic. She was struggling financially as a result of the pandemic. And one of the things I noticed that Jay said in the actual interview that is like an hour or so long, she was like, school is not for everybody. And I'm assuming that Jay didn't actually get much education. Again, if you're not being supported, if you're scared to go home, if you're in and out of juvenile and you have like depression because you don't feel safe or valued, you're going to struggle to be committed to education. Yes, there are some people who can do it, but a lot of people are just going to struggle. They're going to struggle because mentally they're not in the headspace to be able to focus on getting an education. And because she didn't have much, maybe life experience, and no formal education, she used the one thing that she knew she could always rely upon. And I'm just going to touch on that last bit towards the end.
On OnlyFans, and if y'all go look for it, you're not going to find it because OnlyFans is deleted. But yeah, it was another way to like, okay, like we're in a pandemic and I need money, and yeah, so that's how you get on OnlyFans.
So Jay, you call it 304.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Okay. Then she said, so security boss said, you're calling yourself a 304. Okay. You can't really eat and talk. And I'm just like, I'm not saying that she's not a 304. I'm not going to say she is a 304, right? I'm going to say she's a victim. Shout out to my online waifu, Juju, in the building. I'm not going to say that she is a 304. Shout out to Celine, Friedman's Journal. Dimitri, how's everybody doing? But what I am going to say is this. when a person has been devalued, it's going to cause a spiral in the rest of the way they operate. And so it's not that she wanted to necessarily become a promiscuous female, but promiscuity is often a side effect of sexual abuse. It's somebody has made you feel like you are not valuable, like your boundary has been crossed and you don't have the right to be protected. So once somebody is victimized, they often go on to victimize themselves further or put themselves in a situation where other people would be wary. But because they are not accustomed to setting appropriate boundaries, because their boundaries have been violated, this is how people get into this kind of life. So I wouldn't say to her personally, and this is no attack really on security boss, but I understand that security boss is kind of, in some respects, with all due respect, she's kind of sheltered. Like, I don't know. I know I'm not. I know I'm abnormal. Let me just go straight. You know, I know I'm abnormal. I know that, like, I haven't got stories for days, but I've got a few stories to tell, bro. And I haven't been married for 20 years or what have you, and I've got this and I've got that under my belt. So I see the world a different way because of my personal experiences. So I can kind of sympathize with Jay, and maybe that makes me gullible. Maybe that makes me a whole sucker because she's not as remorseful as, she kind of seemed to be in the video that went viral. But the way I would have approached this and what she said, I wouldn't even, there's certain things I wouldn't say. And it's partly because what's understood doesn't need to be said. Bro, the chick is dancing at 18. She's, I doubt that she was, stripping in a burqa, do you know what I mean? Like, I doubt that she was celibate. Obviously she wasn't, because she then had a kid at 25. We really don't need to elaborate on whether she's a 304. I think, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, we don't need to ask, is it a duck? Do you know what I mean? Like, bro, seriously, like, I literally, right, they become hypersexualized. So I just wouldn't. Security boss shook her head like, why would you call yourself a 304? The chick is an exotic dancer. What else would you call it? Like, we don't need to elaborate on that point. You know, like, would a rose by any other name smell any different? No, it wouldn't. It is what it is, kind of thing. So why are you so shocked, like, that she says she's a 304? She's it's not. I'm not saying that she doesn't move like a 304, but what I am saying is there's a backstory that needs to be acknowledged so that you can understand that this person is a victim. Despite the fact that they made poor life choices, they worked with the tools that they were given, which was very few. The only tool that she competently knows to use is her body, because guys, and as she rightly went on to say, which I 100% agree with, and this is what I was saying in the comment section last night, you don't need to do anything to be a seductress. You don't there is an art to seduction. There are levels of being seductive. Like, like, you could make a plate of food and chuck it down in front of your man, for example, or you could set some rose petals and some freaking candles. Yeah, there's levels to this. But when you reach a certain, like, if you're around the wrong person, you don't need to learn to be a seductress. You don't need to learn to be an abuser. You don't need to learn to be a manipulator. Once you are a victim of those kinds of people, you actually learn from the best them how to do it. Because the same person who is abusing you is coming to the house with bouquets of flowers and groceries. And you're like, hold up, this person in secret is doing XYZ, and everybody is championing you like you're the hero of the family and you're a whole monster. Like, how? So when she said, security boss was like, I heard a song about, was it Remy Ma something? I know how to cook, clean, seduce, and have sex. I'm like, bruh, what's that got to do with this conversation? I'm so triggered. It's ridiculous. Normally, I'm just elevating and projecting my voice, but this time I'm actually shouting, bro. I'm actually shouting. What has the song got to do with this situation? We don't know the details because that part of the story was never elaborated on. So this is why I would really love Jay to come through and like elaborate. Maybe it's on her channel. I don't know, but you learn from the best how to be manipulative, how to be abusive. If you've ever been in a relationship with a narcissist, a lot of those people go on to be some to a degree narcissistic. Why? Because you're constantly in a game of mental chess with a person who's crazy. A narcissist will come in and they will lie about something they just said or did. And when you pull them, they'll say, no, I didn't say that. And you're like, am I going crazy? Did I hear things? Did I make it up? And so you start playing this mental ping pong with this person because you're always trying to dodge the bullet that they're about to try and fire on you. 1 minute today, I like my soup hot. The next day you make the soup hot. They say, why'd you make the hot soup hot? I like it cold. You're like, but yesterday you told me you like the soup hot. So I made the soup hot today. No, I like the soup cold. Since when? I've always liked the soup cold. And you're like, hold up. Wait, I could have sworn we had a conversation yesterday and you told me you like the soup hot. And I distinctly remember making the soup hot and you ate it. And now you're telling me you don't really like. These people have you spinning around like a dog chasing your own tail. And that's how people who have been victims of like narcissistic abuse, sometimes they go on to be abusers themselves, very manipulative as well. So in any situation, you're not just being abused, you're being educated on how to be an abuser. And there was a statistic that said a significant portion of people who are abusers, they have been abused themselves. They learn from the best. So for security boss to ask this question, what do you mean? Did you learn that from a song? Is this just a rap song? No, this is this person's life. This is this person's life. The person who abused her is probably a family friend, the boyfriend of the mother, and in every other situation, he seems like a normal, healthy, functioning, helpful, nice person. But there's that one element where he's just a whole pervert. And I don't mean like he's a bit creepy. I mean, you need to be taken to prison and you don't come back out pervert. You are perverse. You have an appetite for something that is depraved and debased. You are like, there's something wrong with you mentally and you need to be taken out of society one way or another. That's what I mean. When I say pervert, I mean you are perverted. Your brain is not working right. You have an appetite for something you shouldn't have an appetite for. Okay? Whew, Jesus Christ. I mean, you could call her a butterfly because she's free, but I don't want to insult the actual bug butterfly or the butterfly progressive. Don't hate on butterflies. You know, a lot of us were caterpillars and we need to become butterflies. We have to evolve eventually. But that bit of the conversation just wound me up, boy.
Well, I mean, it's like y'all, let me address this right now. Like, whether people like what I'm saying or not, I really don't give a damn because it's my truth. And it's a lot of other women that's out here that are living that same truth. And people can sit on their high horse and they can judge how they want to. But there's a lot of women that are having a breakthrough by the video that I had. And, let them without sin cast the first stone.
Well, let me say this. I actually love the video. I was in this corner. This is what women, actually what men want. Because this woman is apologizing. She's basically accounting for what she's done, the life she's led, and she's turning, changing her mindset. She's wanting to be a different woman. Now she wants to be a married woman. Now she's looking for love. But I'm gonna tell you something. I got to be totally honest with you because we're telling the truth. I was all in your corner, but then I kept looking at TikTok on a different day, and I heard young Miami say, "I don't cook. I mean, I know how to cook. I know how to clean. I know how to F, and I know how to seduce." And that threw me way off because I felt like you were sincere. But now I feel like, is this a part of a rap song I don't know about?
Yeah, it's not a part of.
Even if it was a rap song, and so what? Even if it was a rap song, and so what? What's that got to do with anything? All this stuff happened before maybe, what's it? young Miami was born. For all we, this stuff happened when young Miami was barely out of the womb. So what are you talking about? She didn't learn to cook and clean just the other day. Now she could have heard the rap lyrics and she said, "Oh, I resonate with those lyrics. I understand those lyrics because from a logical and from a mental perspective, I know how to do these things. I know what order to put the things in the pot to make the food, palatable. I know how to throw it back. I mean, she's a dancer. She has to learn to be erotic and use her sexuality. That's how she makes money. So obviously she knows how to work the bedroom. Do you know what I mean? Uh, and be seductive. Again, the two can't not don't go hand in hand, but
A rap song. Like there are a lot of young girls learning to survive with their bodies. And as much as men want to tell women like we're wrong and things like that, like who y'all think we learning that from? Who told you that you could use your body to get what you want?
so that's the end of the clip. And it's true. Like from you have a little bit of body or a little bit of looks or you're around the wrong person. I can remember being 16 and just going down certain streets in North London and like when all the guys are standing outside the barber shop, when you walk past, they're just grabbing you by the arm, and you're obviously young, but they're grabbing you by the arm, they're you're sitting at the bus stop and they're sticking out their tongue and doing lewd gestures to you. You don't need to learn to be seductive. Once you start coming of age, because we are sexual beings, it's natural for us to learn how to interact and respond to cues that suggest somebody is sexually interested in us. So you don't need to learn these things. It's and depending on the situation, it can be thrust upon you. So for her to ask the question, where did you learn to be a seductress? I just thought that was a bit of an unnecessary question, especially when you think about what she was told just like literally 2 minutes prior about her upbringing. Obviously, you learn from a very early age, whether you go through abuse or not, that, boys like you. Sometimes, they hit you or something like that. Children hit each other because they don't know how to express, I've got a bit of a crush on you. Or sometimes the boys start showing off when the girls are around because they want to puff out their chest a little bit because they want to make the girls look at them more than their guy friends or whatever. So we learn how to pick up on the cues that this person likes me. We know girls are more sociable at an earlier age. Our vocabulary is more advanced than a boy of a similar age. We talk more. We show signs of communicating more. Females are just naturally more expressive with their communication. And so women know very early on, oh, okay, I have something that I can use as a bargaining chip. And if it's I'm not saying that the abuse was invited, but these girls know, okay, I can use this in the future. So there were a few other things, but I don't want to go through the long form of the video. I'll probably leave a link in the comment section so you guys can check it out for yourself, because I think it was only about an hour long. I still really appreciate Security Boss for getting Jay on the channel and allowing her to tell her side of the story. But this whole thing about adverse childhood experiences, this story was just rife with so many. And it's a perfect example of what happens when children are not protected, when children are neglected, when there's trauma in the household, that there's nobody to guide the person through, and how it plays out later on in life. People have these issues with their identity. They make choices that they later go on to regret. There's a lot of shame and guilt, because the body is going to respond to touch, whether the touch is desired or not. The body is going to respond in a natural way. And so there's these feelings of shame and guilt, like, did I bring this on myself? Did I give this person an indicator that I wanted this? And obviously, if there's any kind of pleasurable sensation, it's like, did I actually like this? So there's a lot of confusion that a young brain can't deal with. There's a lot of information that can't really be processed because the person doesn't have the cognitive function to actually deal with what's being put upon them. So I wouldn't have taken that conversation much further, because the focus should have been, in my opinion, what have you done to resolve these unresolved issues? Because what you are displaying is basically like a reliving of the trauma you went through as a child, where you put yourself in a situation where you're being taken advantage of to ex, eh, to some extent. You're being dehumanized by people who just want to use you as a sexual object, the way you were kind of used as a child. And you need to work through that so that you can have a full range of emotions. Another thing, she said she felt depressed. Obviously, people who have depression, they're not necessarily going to make the best choices. The other thing, she said she was on antidepressants. And I want to shout out Gemini Seasons. He sent me this amazing video. I was so shocked. And it was like, they were talking about the side effects of antidepressants, some of them, and how basically they just dampen all your emotions. You can't really feel anything. And there was one lady, she said, I knew there was something wrong with me when my mother died and I didn't feel anything. Like, and I said, wow, that's, for some people who haven't got a good relationship with their mother, maybe they wouldn't feel anything. But for somebody who maybe had a good relationship, to hear that news and to pretty much have no feeling, this is what antidepressants can do. So if she's consistently taking medication, could also be hampering her mental state, her emotional state, and making it hard for her to connect and bond to people, simply because she doesn't have the emotional capacity due to the drugs. So she may need to talk to her doctor, get her antidepressants changed, her dose reduced. She needs to find healthy coping strategies, maybe change her psychiatrist. She needs to make sure she goes and consistently goes until she works through those issues. And yeah, I wish her all the best. The story is heartbreaking. It's another story of people who kind of died before they lived, before they really had a chance in life. Kind of the rug was pulled out from underneath them. But I'm glad that she's still here. She's got a kid that she has to live for, so she needs to fix herself before she worries about finding love. She needs to love herself. She needs to heal. And I just wish her all the best, and I hope that she can come through the manosphere as well and give us her side of the story, and we can kind of take this conversation to the next level. So I really appreciate everybody who came through. Raw B, Dimitri, Friedman's Journal, Celine, I think I saw, is it Zeke, Juju, Daryl Long, Soupbone, Simon, Mr. O with the info, Bronzebird, and everyone who's catching this on the replay. You did really well. Pat yourself on the back. If you're new to the channel, you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Share this video with somebody who needs to see it. Give it a big thumbs up. And of course, let me know what you think in the comments section down below. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.